Disneyland, the happiest place on earth, or so they say. You'd expect nothing but joy, laughter, and good times. And for the most part, that's what it was. A day filled with the innocent delight of my younger siblings, their faces lighting up at every turn. The air was thick with the smell of popcorn and cotton candy, the sounds of laughter, and the excited chatter of families enjoying their day out. But for me, well, it wasn't quite the same. You see, there was this nagging feeling, like a stone in my shoe, that just wouldn't go away. A feeling of unease that lingered in the pit of my stomach, as if something was not quite right. The vibrant colours seemed just a bit too bright, the laughter just a tad too loud. I brushed it off initially, chalking it up to the large crowds and the heat of the day. But as the day wore on, it became more persistent. The feeling of being watched, of eyes on me, even when I was surrounded by my family. It made me feel uncomfortable, like I was being observed by someone or something that wasn't there. I tried to shake it off, to immerse myself in the joy and excitement that everyone else seemed to be feeling. I tried to lose myself in the magic of the place, to let go of my worries and just enjoy the day. But the feeling persisted, like a shadow that wouldn't leave my side. I kept looking over my shoulder, scanning the crowds for anything out of the ordinary. But nothing seemed amiss. Everyone was too busy having fun, too engrossed in their own Disneyland experience to notice anything unusual. Still, the feeling wouldn't leave me. It clung to me like a second skin, a constant reminder that something was off. Despite the magic and the laughter surrounding me, I just couldn't shake off this feeling, like something was watching me. As day turned to night, I noticed something off. With each passing hour, the enchanting magic of Disneyland began to fade, replaced by an eerie sense of dread. The vibrant colours of the day seemed to transform into a monochrome palette, and the joyous laughter echoed ominously through the empty park. I found myself drawn to the animatronics. These lifelike sculptures that once brought joy were now the source of my discomfort. They seemed to move when they weren't supposed to, their mechanical joints creaking in the silence of the night. It was as though they had a life of their own, a thought that sent shivers down my spine. Then there was Mickey. The beloved mouse now held an uncanny aura around him. I often caught him staring at me from the corner of my eye, his normally friendly face twisted into a sinister grin. It was a sight that was hard to shake off, even when I closed my eyes. One evening, I decided to closely inspect one such animatronic after the park had closed. It was Goofy, standing tall in his usual spot. I approached him slowly, my heart pounding in my chest. I reached out to touch his cold plastic exterior, half expecting him to spring to life. But he didn't. Instead, he just stood there frozen, his eyes locked onto mine. His grin was wide, too wide, and it wasn't the friendly goofball grin I was accustomed to. It was something darker, something menacing. And then I saw it. Deep within Goofy's eyes, I saw a flicker of movement. I blinked, thinking it was just a trick of the light. But when I opened my eyes, the flicker was still there, a tiny glowing ember in the depths of his plastic eyes. It was as if he was watching me, studying me. I quickly backed away, my heart racing. I could barely believe what I had seen. Was it just my imagination playing tricks on me, or was there something more sinister at play? It was as if the park itself was alive, and it had its eyes set on me. I found myself alone, lost in the happiest place on earth. There was no laughing, no cheerful music, no characters dancing around. The once bustling Disneyland had turned into an eerily quiet ghost town. It was just me, the moonlight, and the looming silhouettes of the rides and attractions. I wasn't supposed to be alone, you know. I came here with my family, my wife, and 2 kids. But I got distracted. I saw... well, it doesn't matter what I saw. The point is, I got separated. I turned around and they were gone, swallowed by the crowd. And now the crowd was gone too. I tried to find them, of course. I called out their names into the empty air, my voice echoing back to me. Nothing. I couldn't hear anything but my own footsteps and the distant hum of the park's electricity. And then there were the animatronics, those life-size mechanical characters that are supposed to bring joy and laughter. But in the dead of night, they were a different kind of creature. They stood still, in their places, eyes wide and unblinking. It felt like they were watching me, tracking my every move. Their painted smiles seemed to twist into sinister smirks as I passed by. There was something about the way they were positioned, the way their heads were turned, the way their eyes seemed to follow me. It was as if they were alive, watching me with a cold, mechanical interest. The silence was deafening, only broken by the occasional squeak of a distant ride or the rustling of leaves in the wind. But then I started hearing something else, a sound that made my heart race and my palms sweat, the mechanical whirring of the animatronics, growing louder with each passing second. It was coming from all around me, like a symphony of dreadful anticipation. I could hear the mechanical whirring of the animatronics, growing louder with each passing second. Then it started chasing me. The words tumbled out of my mouth, heavy with the dread that filled every inch of my being. I could still feel the icy grip of terror, the kind that freezes you in place even when every instinct is screaming at you to run. It was one of the animatronics, a character I'd laughed and waved at earlier in the day, its painted smile now twisted into a grotesque grin. It was supposed to be one of the friendly faces, a part of the magic that made Disneyland the happiest place on earth. But in that moment, it was the stuff of nightmares. I bolted, my heart pounding in my chest like a drum echoing throughout the eerily silent park. I darted around corners between buildings, anywhere I could think to lose it. But it was relentless, its mechanical movements unnaturally quick for something that was supposed to be stuck in one place, entertaining wide-eyed children with a song and a dance. The park, once filled with laughter and joy, was now a labyrinth of terror. The rides and attractions started turning on and off randomly, lights flickering, music blaring, then falling silent again. It was as if the entire park had come alive, each twist and turn a new horror waiting to unfold. In the distance, I could hear the cheerful tunes of the carousel, a haunting melody that seemed to mock my desperation. I could see the towering silhouette of the castle, a beacon of hope that seemed so far out of reach. My breath came in ragged gasps, the cool night air stinging my lungs. I could feel the prickling sensation of fear crawling up my spine, the adrenaline pumping through my veins. But no matter how fast I ran or where I hid, I could still hear it. The sound that had become the soundtrack to my nightmare, the mechanical footsteps, a rhythmic clanking that echoed through the empty streets, growing louder with each passing second. A grim reminder of the relentless pursuer that was drawing closer and closer. I could hear its mechanical footsteps getting closer and closer. I clutched my chest, the memory of the chase still fresh, the terror still real. It was supposed to be a place of dreams, but that night it had turned into a place of nightmares. I didn't know how, but I had to escape. Those words were pounding in my head like a drum. My heart was racing, my palms were sweaty, and the eerie silence of the empty park sent shivers down my spine. I could still hear the metallic clanking of the animatronic chasing me, echoing in the distance. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know where I was going. All I knew was that I had to get as far away from that thing as possible. So I just ran. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs felt like jelly. I found myself in front of the castle, the centerpiece of the park, a beacon of hope amidst the fear. I was desperate to find my family, to let them know I was okay, to tell them what I had seen. I pushed through the crowd, scanning faces, calling out their names, and then finally I saw them. They were standing there, looking as lost and as worried as I was. I've never felt such relief in my life, the kind that makes your knees weak and your heart swell. I tried to explain what had happened about the animatronic and the chase, but they didn't believe me. They laughed it off, said I must have gotten spooked by the dark and my imagination did the rest. But I knew what I had seen. I knew it wasn't my imagination. I could still feel the cold metal grip of the animatronic on my arm, still hear the mechanical whirring of its gears. My heart still raced at the thought of it, but I didn't push it. I didn't want to ruin the day for them, so I let it be. We left the park soon after, but the memory of that day stayed with me. I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease, the feeling that something was very wrong with Disneyland. I know what I saw, and I know that Disneyland isn't what it seems. The thought echoed in my mind, a chilling reminder of the horror that lurked beneath the surface of the happiest place on earth. That night still haunts me. Every time I close my eyes, I hear that mechanical whirring, like a beast in the shadows waiting to pounce. The sinister grin of the animatronic, its eyes empty yet filled with a dreadful intent, seared into my dreams. Sleep, once a refuge, is now a battlefield, where I fight against the memories of that terrifying encounter. Maybe Disneyland really is the happiest place on Earth, but for me, it will always be a place of fear and nightmares.